Welcome in to Stop the Takes. We are live on YouTube at our normal slot, Thursdays at 7. And we will be going through win totals for all 32 NFL teams, doing the over under betting line based on what BetMGM gave as of 2 weeks ago today. Preface that by saying we are not a betting channel. So do not take our advice. This is not us telling you should go bet on these things. This is us just doing an exercise on what we think these teams will win this season based on the over-under.
Yes, do not go lose money based on our predictions, please.
Yeah, we are not liable. So so we go through all 32 NFL teams, starting with the Norths, AFC and NFC. Austin, what are your, how are we doing today, man?
Doing all right, man. Ready to get into it. Ready to look at these win totals. And the season's almost here, dude. We are on July 31st. The Hall of Fame game's on. We're literally leading right into the Hall of Fame game. So, yeah, dude, ready for the season to start. Very excited for the NFL season. If y'all are watching this, thanks for the recent support on the videos. The videos have been doing really good recently compared to where we have been on this channel. And don't forget to subscribe as well. We are at 49 subscribers, one away from 50. So if you all could please hit that sub button, really helps out the channel. Also like the videos when you watch them, do all that, comment. We actually really like the comments, especially on the live shows. The interaction is really nice. So anybody tuning in, appreciate it. And I think we're all ready for the NFL season, man. It's here.
It is here. And I know a lot of people have different thoughts on the preseason. I think you and I are both the fans that are like, obviously we know that the game being played isn't as good as what the product will be during the regular season, but man, football, if you love the game of football, it's still football.
Exactly.
And you get to see a lot of the guys, especially if you're college football fans as well. You get to see a lot of the guys that you watched in college, like us as Vols fans, getting to see Hendon Hooker play tonight, which you haven't really been able to see much of in his time in the NFL. So we are just a few weeks away from the NFL season. Go ahead and use that as a time, too, to say 7 Eastern is our time on Thursdays. We won't have a live show next week, but we'll still be releasing a video then. And then as the season gets rolling, we'll be doing weekly preview shows Thursdays at 7. So leading you right into Thursday Night Football, we'll give you kind of a preview of that game and all the games that weekend. And then trying to do something a little bit different for folks. I know not everybody can watch every game on Sunday. You got things to do, you got family, and we get it. So, and the product that Sunday Night Football has created in terms of recapping leading up to Sunday Night Football is not as good as it once was. So we will be going live Sundays at 7 or 7:30, kind of depending on that 4 o'clock window, to do a quick Sunday recap of every game, the Thursday night game as well, but immediately giving you a recap of all the action that happened on Sunday, the best moments, the best plays, the game, close games, all that. So excited to get that out there here in the next few weeks. So without further ado,
let's jump into it.
The AFC North. All right. So over under win totals for the AFC North, starting with the Cincinnati Bengals, is 9.5. Austin, where are you going?
Dude, we're not giving betting advice. We just said that. But, dude, if I have to bet on one, I'm smashing the over, dude. I'm smashing it. They're going to have a bounce back season. I think they'll be back in the playoffs. They play in a really tough division, but they have Joe Burrow. They locked up the receivers. The defense will be better. Listen, Trey Hendrickson is in camp. I think the defense will be better than last year because it can't get much worse. And I think they're definitely going to be in the playoffs and win over 9.5.
I agree. I'm going to go over as well. Even if they go 10-7, which may be more of an official prediction, I like the over here. There was, the Patriots game was a complete fluke. Basically, the Bengals just need to not do that. Even if they're the exact same team as they were last year, just don't lose to the Patriots, and you're fine.
Then you're
literally
good.
Exactly. Don't start 0-2, don't start 0-3, and you're fine. I think, even if the defense isn't quite up to par with how Joe Burrow played last year, they got the whole crew together for the first time ever in an offseason. I think I like the over. And we already got some Titans love in the chat. Are we going 17-0? It's very possible.
We'll see, Daniel.
We'll see when we get to the AFC South.
Stay tuned in and you'll find out. I wouldn't bet on that though.
Yeah, that's the betting advice. Definitely not going to give.
Ugh.
All right, so we're both going over on the Bengals at 9.5. So that goes in now to the Cleveland Browns at 4.5.
That's a low number, Dakota. That's a low number.
It's a low number, man.
Listen, I think if you're a Browns fan, this is where you want the number to be. I really feel that way. If you listen, I know every fan base wants to win, but the Browns are in a position where they can finally get out of this Deshaun Watson deal after next year, and they have an opportunity to go get a quarterback in next year's draft. So I think they want to lose, and I think they will lose. I'm going to go under.
Going under. All right. That's interesting. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I think they'll mess around and they'll go like 5-12. I think their defense is still really good. And I think quarterback play, I don't know. I just think the division makes it really tough, I think. But it's hard for me to see going below 4, winning 4 or less.
4.5 is a very low number.
It's a very low. It's the lowest for what it's worth. This is the lowest of any we're about to go over. Wow. They think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL.
I do disagree with that, but I mean, 17 games of Kenny Pickett or Dillon Gabriel. Yeah, I don't see that going well.
I don't disagree. I'll take the over for the defense's sake, and yeah, I don't feel good about it. But okay. I just 4 is such a low number. Such a low number. All right. Now the range of outcomes for the AFC North is pretty wild. So now Baltimore Ravens at 11.5.
Yeah, this is a tough one because it's like I think this is a very sharp number, right? I mean, the Ravens are going to be good. We all know that. But could you see them winning 11 games with a number one division winner schedule? Yes, I could definitely see 11. But I'm still going to go over. I think the Ravens, this could be the Ravens' year, man. It really could be. This could be the best defense they've had in years, and they've had good defenses, by the way. It's not like they've been bad defensively. I just think it could be the best they've had. And yeah, I think the offense is going to be fine with Lamar. So I'm going to go over, dude. I'm going to go over 11.5 here.
This one is really tough for me because, again, the extreme sides of this, the over and the unders are the hardest. I'm going to go under, and I'm going to go they win 11 games. But I am a big believer in the Ravens this season, a big one. And we'll kind of get to that when we do our season preview show.
I like it. Little tease.
How big of a believer I am. But with the first place schedule, like you said, and the Bengals probably being better, I could see them winning 11. A hard fought and the variance of 1-score games and close games. I could see them winning 11, so I'm going to go under.
Okay. All right. And they need to save their best for the playoffs anyway, so.
Exactly. All right.
Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers,
dude,
8.5.
This is the Mike Tomlin line right here. This is the Mike Tomlin line. Oh, this is such a tough one, dude. This is a tough one. I'm going to go under. I think this is finally when the Mike Tomlin magic runs out. I think Aaron Rodgers could still be okay. It's not like he was atrocious last year with the Jets. But, dude, I think his team's worse. I mean, at least offensively. Offensively, I think the Steelers are worse. Now, their defense could be one of the best in the league, and that might be what drags them to 9 wins. But this is a very sharp line. I think it's either going to be 8 or 9 for the Steelers, and I'm just going to take 8.
I will be different. I'm going to go over. I'm going to say they go 9 and 8.
Dude, a lot of offsets here. I like it.
I know. And this is where it all cannibalizes within the division, though, where like maybe the Browns somehow steal a win against the Ravens. The Steelers and Ravens split some games. I think there could be some chaos there. But I'm going to go over. And it's the reason is what you just said is the defense. I think with game manager level of Aaron Rodgers could be enough to defensively play their way into 9 wins and compete for a wild card spot. But that one is, I mean, they knew exactly what they were doing when they made
that
this
was
line.
Perfect line.
It was going to happen without a doubt. So, all right, now let's move on to the recap really quick on the AFC North. Bengals both going over.
Yep.
9.5. Browns, Austin going under 4.5. I'm going over. Ravens, Austin over 11.5. I'm under. And then Steelers, Austin under 8.5. I'm going over. Now to the NFC North. This division is going to be a tough one because this I think is the highest average of any division. That and the NFC West, funnily enough. But all right, starting with the Chicago Bears, 8.5.
The Bears. I'm going over 8.5 for the Bears, man. I think the Bears. Listen, it's a lot like the AFC North. It's a very tough division. But I think they're going to have a winning record this year. They started off really hot last year, and then the coaching fell off. Caleb Williams' play fell off. They got a whole lot better this offseason, adding Ben Johnson, a head coach. I think the defense got better. I think they got better all around, dude. I think the Bears are finally going to get over the hump, I guess, and make the playoffs.
I agree. One thing I forgot to preface at the beginning, though, that I just want to say again, is that we're not doing this super accurately to obviously how many games the outcome will be. Nobody really does that, but just worth noting. So there's a solid chance we either go under or over for our bets in terms of how many wins can actually happen. I agree. I'm going over for the Chicago Bears. I'm a Ben Johnson believer. And I think with the work they did on the interior offensive line, to be completely honest, if they win less than 9 games, it probably means Caleb is just not good.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the offensive line is fixed now. That can't be an issue. That can't be an excuse for his play. You've got the weapons. You added Luther Burden. You added Colston Loveland. The defense is still solid, maybe lacking a pass rush, but that offense should be one of the best in the NFL with Ben Johnson behind it. So I'm going to go over with the Bears at 8.5 as well. The Detroit Lions, defending champs for the division, at 10.5.
10.5. Okay. I get, man, this is a tough one, dude, because it's like how much you think the Ben Johnson effect, him leaving to Chicago, is going to impact that offense. I think it will impact it, but will impact it greatly. I'm not sure about that. They're also getting Aiden Hutchinson back. He should be healthy the whole season. I think their defense will be a whole lot better. Another team that improved defensively. So I'm going to go over, man. I'm still a believer in the Lions. I think they have probably the most star power in the NFL. They just have, I mean, they're littered with like superstars, honestly. So I'm going to go over for the Lions.
This one is tough, man. This one is tough. A part of me wants to go under just to say they win 10, but that feels wrong. I feel like we're going to see the impact of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both being gone, but I'm going to go over still. I'm going to believe in Dan Campbell and the culture aspect, Aiden being back fully healthy, the addition of Tyleek on that defensive line, which was their biggest weakness last year. I think they can win 11 games and still win this division.
I like it.
All right. Going on to the Green Bay Packers at 9.5.
Oh, man. Packers fans aren't going to like me for this. I'm going to go under here. I think, again, this is where I'm looking at the division. I'm thinking the Bears are getting better. I think the Vikings will go over. We'll get to them in a minute. So somebody's got to go under in the division, and for me, it's going to be the Packers. I think they still will win 9 games. They'll have a winning record. They'll be good. They'll be competitive, but I'm going to go under here for the Packers.
I'm going to agree. I think of all the teams in the NFL, they're one of the ones that we talked about this a lot in our draft recap stuff. I just don't know if they got better this offseason. I just don't know if they did. We know the Bears did. I think the Vikings did. I think the Lions are getting guys at least back that they were missing. I'm going to go under as well. I think they could win 8 or 9 games, but they just did not get better. And I love Jordan Love, but I still don't know if Matthew Golden is going to be that big of a difference immediately for their offense. And the defense has lost some key pieces, so I'm going to go under as well.
All right, Vikings time.
Vikings, 8.5.
8.5 for the Vikings. Listen, I believe in Kevin O'Connell, man. That's where I'm going to start with this. I think Kevin O'Connell will turn JJ McCarthy into a good quarterback. It's insane because I think all 6 quarterbacks from 2024 draft class could end up being good, and I think McCarthy will be good. It's going to be hard not to be with this offensive minded head coach and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. They have a plethora of weapons, so I think I'm going to go over here, dude.
It's a clean sweep of agreement on this division after splitting on most of the others. I agree. I was not a big fan of JJ McCarthy coming out. in 2024. But what you just mentioned, I am a big KOC fan. Kevin O'Connell has proven, I think, more than anybody in the NFL that he is a quarterback whisperer. No matter who he puts behind center, they're going to look good. Even more than what Kyle Shanahan has been able to do, because we have a kind of a use case between them where Kyle Shanahan and them both had Sam Darnold, and he did not look good in San Fran. So I think with a year of learning the system as well, JJ will hit the ground running. The offense, like you mentioned, is one of the most loaded in the NFL. And the defense is, with Flores and his scheme is always going to be better than whatever even the talent they put on the field is. So I think they'll win over 8.5.
I agree, man.
All right, quick recap for the NFC North. Both going over 8.5 for the Bears. Both going over 10.5 for the Lions. Both going under 9.5 for the Packers, and both going over 8.5 for the Vikings. So that leads us into the AFC East. Starting things off with the Buffalo Bills at 11.5, like the Ravens.
Okay. Yeah, man, it's so tough. It's going to be tough for me to go under on these really good teams. Yeah, I'm going to go over for the Bills. I think they're going to be over. I mean, they have Josh Allen. That's really all I have to say. And we know he's going to be out there every week and doing his thing. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Really the only question mark on their team is the receiving group. I still have question marks about that, but it doesn't matter when you have Josh Allen. It really doesn't. And they have, Sean McDermott and that great defense. They're usually pretty good defensively. So yeah, over for the Bills for me.
Completely agree. It's hard to bet against the MVP. Josh Allen, and I think what we'll find out here in a second too is their division, I think, helps play a role in that, because this is the weakest division by far we've gone over so far.
Yes.
So I think being in that division will help as well, where getting to 12 wins is a lot easier. But McDermott has also shown he has a pretty high baseline, especially with Josh Allen, since he's become Josh Allen. So I agree with the over. We have to take a moment to celebrate and appreciate everybody. We hit 50.
Yes.
We hit 50 subs. So
50
thank
subs.
you all. Thanks to everybody, whoever the 50th was. You'll get a t-shirt, maybe.
You'll get a t-shirt when we hit 100,000. How about that? For being an OG. Okay. For being an OG. Yeah. How about that?
You'll get a free merch voucher once we're
okay.
Once we're huge. Yeah. But no, seriously, appreciate everybody who has subscribed and that tunes in. Really, really appreciate all the support. And 50 is a pretty cool milestone to hit. So really do appreciate it, everybody.
Yep.
And whoever did that specifically. You're a hero. All right. Let's move on now to the Miami Dolphins at 7.5.
Oh, man. I'm low on the Dolphins, dude. I'm low on the Dolphins. I'll be honest. I think it starts with, you have to talk about health when we're talking about the Dolphins because of Tua. Tua hasn't been able to stay healthy because of the concussions, and he doesn't seem to help it either. He's done nothing to help taking those hits. So that's a question mark. And then you add to the fact that I think, dude, they are depleted in the trenches, specifically offensive line. Now, their defensive line could get a whole lot better. They're getting Jalen Phillips back. They added Kenneth Grant in the draft. So I think they could get a lot better on the defensive line. But overall, I still have so many question marks about Miami. Tyreek's getting up there in age. So I'm going to go under for the Dolphins here.
I have to do the same, and it kind of hurts because I love Mike McDaniel, but I don't want to make bold predictions because we don't do that here. We don't do hot takes, but like, this could be his last year in Miami, to be honest, and it's kind of not. It's partly his fault, partly not. The roster has it's just reached a bad point, and specifically the offensive line. I mean, everybody was mocking an offensive lineman with their first round pick, and they didn't do it. Probably due to the fact that 3 tackles went quicker than they probably assumed. But to your point with Tua's health, even anybody behind that offensive line, I'm not feeling too confident about their abilities to make plays back there. The defensive line should definitely be better. I love Jalen Phillips. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Yeah. But the secondary is still kind of a concern. You move on, you go from Jalen Ramsey back to Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's probably a net negative slightly just because safety's less valuable than corner. Though I'd say Minka's probably playing better overall. So I just it's gonna be I don't know. It's gonna be a tough season for the Dolphins, but I'm gonna go under, and they probably go like 7-10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
On to the New York Jets at 5.5.
It's a really tough one for me because it's another team that is definitely rebuilding. They have a bridge quarterback in Justin Fields. But I really like the young pieces on this team. Like, really like their bookend at tackle. I really like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. They still have young defensive talent as well in Sauce Gardner. Quentin Williams, he's starting to get up there, but he's still really good. So, I mean, they have talent, man. And I think Justin Fields can carry this team to 6 or 7 wins. So that's why I'm going to go over for the Jets. But this is also like I feel like the Jets they could be a 3-win team as well. It really depends on Fields if he can stay healthy. He had that injury scare that ended up just being a toe apparently, even though it was reported like he just tore his Achilles. But yeah, I'm gonna go over for the Jets because man, I just really like their young talent.
This one's a tough one for me because my gut wants to tell me to go under. But I think I am going to go over as well because I do think the baseline. I mean, Justin Fields didn't play bad last year, and I do think there's enough talent around him. And to your point, the book, you've got 2 should be really good tackles now, drafting Mimbu to go alongside Shanu, and the defense is still solid. You have one of the best corners in the game still. It's tough. I think more than likely when the season comes to an end, what led to being over or under here, I think will be Aaron Glenn as a coach, to be honest. Because if he's just not a very good coach, then they probably go like 3-14, and they're picking top 3. But I think Justin Fields' baseline will help elevate them to 6 wins, basically.
I like it.
All right, last team in the AFC East, the New England Patriots, and this one felt very high.
Surprise! I'm surprised because I feel like we've been higher on the Patriots, right, than most analysts. It's at 8.5, by the way. I don't know if Dakota said it's at 8.5. 8.5 win total. I didn't expect the win total to be this. I really didn't. Even though we've been saying, hey, the Patriots can be a team that wins 10 games. Depending on if all this young talent kind of comes to fruition, and even some of the older guys, right? You bring in Stephon Diggs, if he can kind of get back to that X wide receiver that the Patriots have been missing for years. Also, don't know if Diggs has been that for a few years now, but they paid him like he is, so we'll see what Diggs can do, and avoid getting on any boats or anything like that between now and the season starting. But overall, man, it's like I like the quarterback. I like Drake May. I like the coach. Mike Vrabel comes in, and I think he can really elevate this roster. So I get why it's 8.5. It's probably around where I would have said it. I'm just surprised they said it at this. I think I'm still going to go under though, man. I think they still have a lot of question marks on the offensive line. Like Will Campbell has to come in and immediately be good. We don't see that out of rookie tackles unless you're Joe Alt, it's like, unless you're that level of prospect, we don't see that very often. And I still think they're a year away. I think they're going to be good in a couple years, but not this year.
Yeah, I agree, man. When I saw 8.5, I was kind of floored, and I wonder how much of it is by Mike Vrabel that caused that. But funnily enough, I saw a thing today that may have caused some recency bias in my mind, which was an injury report for the Titans back when Vrabel was there, because his coaching style did just seem to lead the way he handles practice to us having 45 guys hurt every week. And this roster is not built to handle injuries right now. So I think all it takes is one of those and you're in rough shape. I could see them winning 8 games. I think going over that is possible, but I'm going to take the under. Drake May's still young. The roster's still just not quite there. But the baseline of Vrabel, I think this roster on paper, to be honest, would be like a 5-win team still more than likely. But Vrabel does elevate that up to like a 7-8 win baseline, I think. So, and we got a question in chat off topic, but what do you think the 49ers ceiling this season could be? You should check out our best and worst case scenario video that we did. But I mean, we both agreed Super Bowl. I mean, the roster's not quite where it was before. There's been some Trent Williams getting up there in age. defensive line is a bit much, but with Kyle Shanahan, anything is possible. And Brock Purdy's been playing pretty well, even with how things went last season. So I think both you and I agreed that Super Bowl is definitely the ceiling for them.
And listen, and especially in the NFC, and they still have all those stars, right? Like you still have the star power to match up with anyone in the NFC. It really depends on that young talent, man. They bring in a lot of young guys, especially on the defensive line. They're going to have to make contributions immediately. And Michael Williams and Alfred Collins, if those guys can plug in and immediately be good, because listen, if Michael Williams can be an elite pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa, all of a sudden that defensive line is one of the best in the league. So yeah, I think we kind of liked the Niners draft, and I think they probably got better overall. And with Kyle Shanahan and the stars, dude, they're always a threat in the NFC.
Yeah, the offense should still be very powerful. Even losing Debo, I mean, having Ayuk, Kittle, Ricky Pearsall was really starting to come into his own, and Juwan, VFL Juwan. We're a big fan of him. He's wanting his money though. I think the biggest question mark. Yeah, for real. But you brought it up, like the defensive line with Collins and Williams both expected to make impact immediately. And then I'd say my biggest question mark for them in general was just the turnover in the secondary, losing Hufanga, losing Charvarius Ward. So we'll see for the 49ers. But I mean, with Kyle Shanahan at the helm, and in the NFC that is a little bit weaker, yeah, anything is possible. All right. So recap, we fully agreed on this one too.
We did.
It looked like things were going in a different direction in the beginning, but
yeah.
So Bills 11.5, we're both going over. Dolphins 7.5, both going under. Jets 5.5, both going over, and Patriots 8.5, both going under. Maddie was in the over. Thanks for that. Of course. And yeah, honestly, that is one thing I think that is worth noting for their season, though, is they are playing a much easier schedule than they normally would. They're not playing.
And it also seems that Shanahan likes to bounce back after these really. I mean, he's had some rough season with the Niners, but it always seems like they bounce back the next year. So,
all right, now let's move on to the NFC East, starting with the Washington Commanders. 9.5.
Wow. I'm shocked they said it this.
Like, as in high or low?
As in low, because I would have expected
I thought they were going to.
Yeah, exactly. They saw Jaden last year, and I would have expected them to kind of overreact to that. What this tells me is they're still a little worried about the roster. Like we all are. We're all a little bit worried about that roster still because it's not exactly where it needs to be. And maybe they're predicting a little bit of Jaden regression here. Very interesting total, though. As far as where I'll go with it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's like this is a total that me and you would have set it at, but I expected to see like 10.5. I expected it to be a little high, and in that case, I definitely would have went under. But at 9.5, I'm sitting here thinking, well, geez, now I kind of like the over. Listen, we're gonna drop next week QB rankings. We're recording that video where we will not be live because I'll be out of town, but we're recording that video. And listen, Jaden's pretty high on my QB rankings. I'm not gonna lie, he's pretty high. So I think I gotta go over. Since they said it at 9.5, if it was at 10.5, I would have been worried about that. But I think they'll win 10 games.
I honestly completely agree with that. I was surprised when I saw it that low. And I agree, because I kind of like them at like a 10-7 range this year. And same thing would have been true if it was 10.5, I probably would have taken the under. But yeah, I think with Jaden, because even with the Texans, right, we just witnessed this with the kind of mini regression, which was mainly offensive line driven, which ironically the Commanders have done the opposite of what the Texans did by quite literally stealing the tackle away from CJ Stroud and drafting Josh Connerly. That issue shouldn't happen. Yeah, Debo. The thing we do have to talk about that could impact this was the news that broke just before we went live.
Very good point.
Terry McLaurin has requested a trade. That may impact things a bit, because if you go from Terry being your number one, to Debo now having
that, yeah. Then I'm taking the under. Let's be real.
Man. Let's assume he's on the roster. As of right now, he is. The Courtland Sutton contract, is, we talked about this before we went live, is the problem for the Commanders right now, because everyone on the planet would agree, for the most part, that Terry McLaurin is better than Courtland Sutton. They're roughly the same age, and that was a
Yep.
pretty large deal. So you're
Yep.
going to have to pay that man. So
Exactly. They're like you said, they're roughly the same age. So yeah, you're gonna have to pay up for Terry. And listen, I think he's earned it, dude. I think he's earned it. They're worried about his age, and I get that. But Jade needs a number one guy, and I mean McLaurin was unlocked last season. So if he's on the roster, I'm going over 9.5.
all right, let's move on to America's team, the Dallas Cowboys at 8.5.
See, I was watching a little Check the Mic earlier. We talk about Check the Mic a lot. Big inspirations for us, Sam and Steve. And I saw FanDuel had this as 7.5 on their show. 7.5. I'm smashing the over with that. I think they'll bounce back from that. Now 8.5, I'm a little bit worried about, especially with Jaden coming into this division and kind of taking over. And then you still have the defending Super Bowl champions in the division as well, which you have to be worried about. Man, I'm gonna be a little pessimistic on America's team. I'm gonna say under. I think, with a new head coach, a lot of question marks. And yes, they got George Pickens, but how much more did they do to get better? It looks like Tyler Guyton's injury is not going to end up being a big deal. He's going to be back, which is a good thing. But there's still a lot of question marks on that O-line, man. A ton of question marks, unproven guys.
This is probably one of the toughest for me, to be honest, because that 8.5. They knew what they were doing. They did a very good job because 8.5 is tough. 7.5, I would have taken the over, but I don't know if I could take the over with this because they got the Commanders, they have the Eagles in the division, and I don't know. I think I'll go under. And to be honest, the main reason why is I don't know if I'm going to fully believe in Schottenheimer as a head coach.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the issue for me is that could be the thing holding the team back a little bit. Injuries have also plagued this team over the last few seasons, and you don't want to predict for that, but that's kind of what the track shows. So I'm going to take the under for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else even interviewed Schottenheimer, so it's like it's kind of tough when nobody else wants him as head coach, and you'll take him. So
yeah, especially it sucks because I do like Dak. I do like Dak a lot, but it's just going to be tough with the situation and the new brand new head coach. So, all right. The defending Super Bowl champs set at 11.5.
Yeah, I got to go over, man. I mean, the roster's too good not to. They could have, like, the thing with the Eagles, everyone's always going to point back to not the end of last season, because the end of last season they got a ring, but the end of 2 seasons ago when they fell apart. And they still made the playoffs, but they looked awful going into the playoffs, and everything fell apart at that point. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think Sirianni got his ring. He got over the hump. He beat the Chiefs. I just think that's going to just help the confidence in the locker room and just know that they're, one of the best. They're the team to beat in the NFC. That's just the reality. They're the team to beat. They really looked unbeatable last year at points. And so, yeah, I'm going to go over for the Eagles.
I'm going to agree. Yeah, I'm going to agree. The defending Super Bowl champs, I just think that they are the peak of roster building right now. The way that Howie Roseman has built this team is built to sustain it. And even with some of the turnover on the defensive side of the ball, losing Milton Williams and Sweat, I don't know if they're going to miss a beat, to be honest. And offensively, they still have the best offensive line in the NFL and one of the best 1-2 punches, along with the best running back last year. It's hard to bet against them. And, to your point, when they collapsed, they lost both coordinators after that. That season was when that happened, when they lost those guys. So now they do lose Kellen Moore, but they, hire from within, which is what typically happens in those situations. And he was the pass game coordinator, kind of associate head coach for the last 2 seasons. So he's been there and involved in what has been a pretty decent offense. So I'll believe in the Eagles and Sirianni to get over 11.5.
Like it.
All right. The New York Football Giants, 5.5.
Yeah, I still think they're a year out from competing for anything meaningful. And I think coaches are going to get fired. Again, we're Stop the Takes. We don't like talking about that stuff, but it's not a very bold prediction here. Everyone's on the hot seat there. I think they will go over though. I think it's possible that the season starts off really poorly, and then they start to maybe Jackson Dart comes in and he starts to kind of change things, and he lights the offense on fire. He replaces Russ. Or maybe Jameis comes in and Jameis starts slinging that thing. Jameis will win you a couple games now. He'll lose you a lot, but he'll win you a couple. And but I'm going to go over because I just think the ceiling of some of their position groups are so high, right? Like the receiving group obviously got way better with Malik Neighbors, but specifically the defensive line. The defensive line is terrifying, dude. Edge rushers, Dakota, are one of those positions that hit the ground running, right? If you're good as an edge rusher, you'll come in and dominate immediately, and that's exactly what Abdul Carter has the chance to do. You pair him with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau's coming off the bench now as your edge rusher number 3, which is unbelievable because he's gotten better. So I just think with the ceiling of that defensive line, I think they'll be carried over 6 wins.
I completely agree on that. Completely agree on the analysis there.
We've agreed on like the last 12.
I know it's crazy, but and I may go back at some point and have to do. Maybe I go over on the Cowboys. I don't know, but with the Giants, I agree with the complete way you broke that down because I think the defense leads them to 6 wins. Basically, I think offense could be an issue without a doubt, but that defense should be elite. And the defensive line specifically. To your point of adding Abdul Carter, they also added Darius Alexander to that defensive line. Like it is going to be nasty.
I forgot about that. Jeez.
Yeah. Just imagining scenarios like when teams are in obvious passing situations, you line up Dexter at like a 1, and then you just let Kayvon, Burns, and Carter just hover around, walk around wherever they want to be. How do you block that?
I don't know, man.
Oh,
no idea. That's going to be tough.
And regardless of what happens on offense, I think you're right. Like Jameis could, he's going to have that 350-yard, 3-touchdown, 1-pick game before he has the 200 1-touchdown, 3-pick game. But he'll lead you to win, and then Dart will probably he'll probably, when he does play, Russell will probably win a couple games, and then if Dart does play, he'll probably look really good early on, more than likely, and then taper off because that's typically how rookies go, right? Will Levis did the same thing. He threw 4 touchdowns and then was, terrible ever since. So I'll go with the over.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
Recap the NFC East, complete agreement again. Over 9.5 for the Commanders. Under 8.5 for the Cowboys. Over 11.5 for the Eagles. And over 5.5 for the Giants. And just so as we're halfway through now, we are putting this on a spreadsheet. So we can reference this later in the year, unless we do a terrible job.
Yeah, then we're not bringing it up. Then it's getting buried. It's getting deleted. This video is being set to private, and nobody will ever see it again.
Absolutely. So hopefully that doesn't happen, and we got at least 50 to 50, maybe 60% of this right, and then it's worth talking about. But all right, let's move on to the back half, starting with the AFC South. This one is a very interesting division. So starting with the Indianapolis Colts at 7.5.
7.5 for the Colts. Oh man, listen, for Stop the Takes listeners that don't know, I am a Colts fan, have been since old Peyton Manning on the wall behind me. And I honestly think this is slightly low. And the reason I say that is when AR gets hurt in week 2 and Daniel Dimes comes in, I think he's going to drag us to 8 wins. It's not going to be a great season. I'm not predicting us to even make the playoffs, but I think 7 wins is a bit low for just the solidness of this roster. Not a ton of stars, although I think there are some guys that could become stars, but not a ton of stars right now. But not a lot of holes on the roster either. So I'm going to go over for my Colts.
I agree. I think the roster, it's weird because it's one of those where it's like there's not a lot of star power on the Colts. Like a lot of casual NFL fans probably couldn't name too many people outside of like Jonathan Taylor and maybe DeForest Buckner. But I just think and I think Steichen has kind of shown a baseline of elevating the offense to a certain point just from him schematically, because Gardner Minshew won games.
Yeah, he almost took Gardner Minshew to the playoffs,
yes.
man.
Exactly. So I think, to your point, if Daniel Jones gets into a system like this, or if all the reports that just came out were like, hey, AR learned how to care about football, then, maybe he actually looks good. But I think
do not
also
get
the division,
your hopes up, Colts fans. Do not get your hopes up.
Yeah, maybe sit out the QB rankings. No, watch that video, but just bear with us.
Oh,
but
man.
I'm gonna go. I gotta agree with you over there. I just think the division's also not very good still. So I think that helps you. You're going to beat the Titans twice, so that's 2 wins. So I'll go with the over as well. Colts will be fighting for a playoff spot.
All right, I like it.
All right, Jacksonville Jaguars also 7.5.
This one is so hard, Dakota, because to me, the Jags could be a 3-win team or they could be an 11-win team. That's where I view the Jags right now. And it really is, well, I won't say it's simply all on Trevor Lawrence because the offensive line is a huge question mark. The O-line's a big question mark. However, Liam Coleman has been able to hide bad offensive line play at times while he's with the Bucs. So, and not that the Bucs have a bad offensive line currently, by the way, Bucs fans. We'll get to y'all later. But point being is that if Trevor Lawrence is good with these weapons, Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, this is a dangerous team. I mean, a contending team. Like if Trevor Lawrence can live up to his expectations coming out of college, which he has at times in the NFL, but most of the time has not, which is a problem. It's all about consistency. If he can, though, this team's going to go over. And I just went over for the Colts. I'm going to go over for the Jags, man. It's like Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas. It's like, Trevor, just don't be bad. Like, if you're just not bad, this team should be drugged to 8 wins, in my opinion.
For the first time since the AFC North,
we're disagreeing.
I'm going to go different. Yeah.
We're disagreeing.
I'm going under on the Jags, and I think it's mainly because had we done this in a different order, I would have gone over. Part of it is the fact that I'm kind of predicting every new coach to outdo what they're expected to do. I guess I didn't with the Cowboys, but like with Aaron Glenn, I'm kind of expecting that. So with them, I'm going to go under, partly due to coaching. I think Liam Cohen did a very good job in Tampa. To be honest, part of it to me is also, this one is a prove me wrong one. Trevor Lawrence, prove me wrong, because you have been not very good.
Not good.
You have not been very good for a generational number 1 overall player. And until I see differently, because you did have Brian Thomas Jr. last year, adding Travis Hunter should make there be 0 excuses. I'm going to make this one the prove me wrong one, where I'm going to go under. And yeah, see if Trevor can prove me wrong. With the weapons that you now have, and with Travis Hunter on the defensive side, I think the roster overall still is just not super good, so I'm going to go under for the Jags.
Yeah. I can see it.
Houston. Yeah. Again, the range of outcomes for the Jags, they're up there as one of the widest, I'd say, for sure. For sure. Especially with the coaches you don't know yet, because they could step in and suddenly be fantastic. They could also be abysmal. So
yeah, exactly. That's the thing with new head coaches. You just never know, man.
Yeah, we always want to be excited about the next great offensive coordinator to head coach, but
it's a different job.
Houston Texans. It is. Houston Texans 9.5.
Yeah, this is one I'm going to go over on. I think they, even though, like, does it make sense trading away the best left tackle? Well, not the best pass blocking left tackle potentially in the NFL to an already bad offensive line. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't logically. However, I do think that there's like kind of a culture reset in that room in particular, in the offensive line room in particular. And I think Stroud just has a baseline, man. I think Stroud has a winning, getting in the playoff baseline that you don't get a lot with quarterbacks. You just don't. I mean, there was years Drew Brees didn't make the playoffs, dude. And Drew Brees is an all-time great. I think Stroud is in that category of guy who's just he's gonna win the division or at least get to the wild card round. And so I think they're going to go over here. I think they'll be a lot better than they were last year. And their defense is fantastic, by the way. They were good last year, even in a year where it seemed like they didn't do as good as they did Stroud's rookie year.
This one's another really tough one for me. I think I'll end up agreeing and going over. I kind of wanted to do under just to disagree again, but I do think the defense is going to be elite. And again, playing in the division side of things, where I'm predicting the Jags to be under and the Titans are the Titans. I think you have a baseline of a handful of wins already. The tough part is that the first place schedule that does throw a wrench into things like this when predicting for teams like the Texans that are like on the brink. I'm going to agree too and hope that the culture aspect of the offensive line is resolved and that things are better. But I could see us eating our words here where the offensive line is just a complete problem. Yes. A liability, and Stroud is running for his life and they win, 8 games and have a rough season. But I'll go over as well.
I agree. I just got to touch on that for a minute because the offense, like the Texas offensive line could be so bad that CJ Stroud regresses. That's how bad it could be. So, like, it's a bit of a risk for me to go over here with that unit. But again, I'm betting on like it was a culture problem and they're going to creep back towards average somehow, even though they just lost Laremy Tunsil. And so we'll see.
And fortunately for them in their division, there is barely any, outside pass rush.
Yeah, true.
Because you've got the Jags. You've got the Jags with Hines Allen and Trayvon when Trayvon is there. But the Titans have none, just absolutely none. And the Colts still just have young guys like Latu trying to get there. So that at least helps within the division, but it does not help with the first place schedule when you got to play like, the Ravens and whatnot.
The Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. Yeah.
Not great. All right. My Tennessee Titans at 5.5.
Listen, I think I am immensely jealous of your Titans right now because I think I'm a Cam Ward believer. But in Cam Ward's words in training camp, the Titans are mid, man. The Titans do not have the roster right now to be good. Cam Ward will be good, but everything else around him is not right now. I will say I think the offensive line is going to take a step forward. I think the offensive line is creeping back towards average, and I do believe in what they've done on the offensive line. They just don't have the playmakers right now. They just don't. And the defense isn't in a great spot either. They don't have the playmakers on offense, and they don't have difference makers on defense, specifically like you just mentioned, Dakota. Pass rush. They do not have good pass rushers. Good interior of defensive line, but not good edge rushers. So I'm going to go under this year, but I believe in the Titans long term.
I want to believe in Cam Ward. I do. And I'm loving the leadership that I've seen from him so far. But to be honest, I think what he is saying and the things coming out of training camp to me are more indicative of coaching. And I think I want to believe in Brian Callahan too, but I think we leave this season with a new coach, to be honest. I think it's under. The roster's also just not very good. I mean, Callahan's really not set up to succeed. The wide receiving group is a hodgepodge of retirement home and rookies. The offensive line should be better. J.C. Latham should be better going back to the right side. Dan Moore will be good against everybody that's not elite or Myles Garrett. And then
really
defensively, though,
Myles Garrett.
Oh yeah, defensively, I don't know what to even expect because interior-wise, you're right. We got Jeffrey Simmons, got Tavondre, but the edge rushers are literally like Arden Key and Femi, who we just drafted. That's going to be a rookie who has like the rawest pass rushing history out of like the class, where he's like been doing it for like a season. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to left be desired with the Titans roster, so I'm going to go under, even with the last place schedule.
I will say though, think back to the Bengals in 2020 when they took Burrow number 1 overall. The following year they sucked, partly because Burrow got hurt his rookie year, but they sucked. And what'd they get the very next year? Jamar Chase. So the Titans losing right now could be helpful long term. You get a top 5 draft pick, you draft an elite wide receiver next year. It's not going to be Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams. So maybe next 2 years you need to suck. But man, overall, it's a good thing.
We're always a year early, man. We're always a year early. We miss out on the 6 quarterbacks and 5 of them immediately being good. One of them probably still will be. And then we're going to be a year early on Jeremiah. What a time to be a Titans fan, man. What a time. Can we get him to come out as a sophomore?
I believe in Cam Ward.
we
An
need to get
exemption.
something pushed through. Yeah, an exemption to put Jeremiah in, because we all agree would have been a top 5 pick this year.
This year, as a true freshman coming
yeah.
out of college.
Oh man. All right. Recap the AFC South real quick. Both over 7.5 on the Colts. You're going over 7.5 for the Jags. I'm going under. And then both over 9.5 Texans, both under 5.5 Titans. Move over to the NFC South, starting with the division champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The Bucks. I'm high on the Bucks, man. I'll be honest. I'm high on the Bucks. I love Baker. You'll again to tease our QB rankings dropping next Thursday. I'm high on Baker, man. I'll be honest. I'm high on Baker and I'm high on that offense. And it's in a division that's just not great. It's not great a division. They're going to have a pretty easy schedule because of that division. I'm going to go over 10 or 9.5 for them. I think they'll win 10. I don't think they're going to go much over because, I mean, it's just that's the nature of Baker. Some weeks you're going to get fantastic Baker. Next week you're going to get, 2 big time throws and 5 turnover worthy plays, performance kind of thing. He is volatile in that sense, but I'm still going to go over, man. I've really loved what they did this offseason. I think their team got a whole lot better, and they have a really good roster overall.
I agree. I'm going to go over as well. I think they win 10. Because the variance mainly it's really on Baker's shoulders, and to be honest, he had some big mistakes, and that's always kind of been his problem. But like he had a very quiet season last year, being like tied for most touchdowns and third in yards or whatever. So, and then you add Emeka Egbuka to that, and even if Chris Godwin gets hurt again, you now have a replacement there. That receiving core is deep. The offensive line is still solid. They add, who knows how they'll do as rookies, but Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish at corner. I like the Bucks, and in another division that is just pretty weak overall.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard too. Baker loves Emeka Egbuka so far in camp. He absolutely loves that guy. So it's gonna be interesting, dude. I think that offense could be pretty high powered.
All right, moving on now to the Atlanta Falcons.
7.5. 7.5 for the Falcons. Man, I'm leaning optimistic this show, man. I'm gonna go over. I am extremely high on Michael Penix, dude. And I would be higher on him in my QB rankings if he didn't just have such a small sample last year. We need to see it more. We need to see a full year of it. He's going in to this offseason as the guy. He's getting the number 1 team reps in practice. He is the guy. He is the franchise quarterback for the Falcons. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that. And I think 7.5 is a little low. Like 7.5 is, I feel like they've gotten better. And I think one of their edge rushers that they took in the draft will work out. They just need 1 to. Now, if they both do, all of a sudden this defensive line is just completely revamped and could be really good. But yeah, I'm going to go over, man. I think I'm not going to believe in Kyle Pitts, but I still believe in Drake London and the rest of their weapons. But I think I'm not gonna put my eggs in the Kyle Pitts basket. But I think they'll at least win 8 games.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to go over as well. And it is because of the 2 edge rushers they got. I think for once in the last 8 years, it seems like they will have a pass rush. And the defense outside of that has been pretty solid. Jesse Bates just got ranked as like the best safety according to Madden. I'm going to go over as well. I do believe in Michael Penix. He looked really good for the minimal snaps we saw of him. He did look really good, and it seemed to be connecting with Pitts and Drake London. I think they win 8. I'm going to go over, and I say they win 8 because I think they're kind of branch. And I think what could very well happen is we're sitting here a year from now and we're hammering whatever it is the under because things went poorly and then they didn't have a first round draft pick. So there'd be a lot left to desired. So to be honest, if things don't go well this year, next year's going to be a little rough.
That's a really good point. Like they need Penix to be the guy. I mean, that's the case with the reason we go to quarterback so much is because it's so important. And you need a franchise guy to compete for Super Bowls. You just do. You need an elite guy. But Penix did show that last year. The question is, can he do it for the full season? And if he doesn't, you're right, Dakota. They're not really built to win in the future, especially since they still have the Kirk Cousins money to pay too. They're not really getting the full benefit of the rookie contract deal for Penix. So they really need Penix to be the guy, and they need Kyle Pitts breakout. They need the Drake London breakout. I think London will. Pitts probably won't, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah. So I'll believe in this year, and then we'll see. Next year could be the complete opposite. Right. Carolina Panthers at 6.5.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think the Panthers could get a whole lot better, but I think you could also see disaster here. You could see Bryce Young's, I mean, frankly, his starting career end this year. Like we saw last year, he started off awful. He got benched, and then he had this resurgence, and he was really good off the bench last year. It didn't show up statistically because everything else around him kind of sucked, but he was a lot better at the end of last year. It made me kind of a believer again, but I will say I'm going to go under here because I still have a lot of question marks, dude. I have a lot of question marks. They really need T-Mac to be a good right off the bat, which I think he's a good player, but it's just they need a lot, right? They need Bryce to be a consistent the entire season. There's still a ton of question marks on that defense. And I think overall the roster's just not great. And so if Bryce isn't good to elite, then this team will not be very good at all.
Man, this one's another really tough one for me where I'm like, I could see 7 wins, but it's up to Bryce. Man, I'm going to disagree with you. I kind of thought you would go over, so I was prepping for my undertake.
Okay.
So I'll go over to be different on this. I'll believe in Bryce. And I'll say that him and Dave Canales are on the same page now. And with T-Mac added to, I think in the division, that's pretty interesting. I think they squeak out 7 wins. But to be honest, still leaves you in a very weird spot going forward where you're like,
it does.
If Bryce is it or not. But I could 100% see him going back to old Bryce. But I'm going to believe in how he ended. I'm going to fixate on, statistical output aside, his PFF grading, that matters more to us. He played well with a pretty poor situation. And I think people forget too, he was this close to beating the Super Bowl champ Eagles right as they were kind of taking off going into the playoffs. So I'll go with the over. They added the pass rushers in Amuna Malin and Scarton. So I'm gonna believe in the Panthers to somehow pull out 7 wins.
Yeah. Again, the Panthers to me are a team that have pretty wide range of outcomes. Yes. I think they could fight for a wild card spot. I also think they could be picking top 5 in the draft. It really depends on Bryce, man. It does.
Speaking of picking top 5 in the draft, the New Orleans Saints 5.5.
This is one that I should have had in the sheet before the show started. It's under. This team will be picking number 1 overall. I'm shocked that the Browns are lower than the Saints. To me, I would again, do not take our betting advice. If I had to pick one line to take under on, it would be the New Orleans Saints line at 5.5, dude. Have you seen the Tyler Shuck highlights in practice? It's not good, dude. It does not look good. Plus the roster is just not in a good spot, man. So the Saints are, I feel like, in full rebuild mode. And listen, we've talked about a lot during this offseason, Dakota. It's not that bad if you lose. If you're the Saints, you potentially have the number 1 overall pick in a quarterback draft class that looks like it's going to be a lot better than the Cam Ward 2025 class. So yeah, I would be happy if I'm a Saints fan this year if we lose.
Completely agree. This was one I knew immediately I was taking the under on when I saw it. And I agree, man. The Browns being below it's kind of surprising to me. Maybe it's the division playing a role there, but I also saw, I don't know if it was ESPN or somebody released their top 32 teams, like power rankings, and the Titans were last and the Saints weren't, which is just, maybe the people just hate Cam Ward or the roster. They think it is that.
It must be the Madden people that are doing those power rankings, dude.
Oh my gosh, man! It must be because, I just don't know how you look at the Saints roster right now and think that they're not the worst team in the NFL. Because at least Cam Ward had, whether or not he should have been the number 1 overall pick or whatever, he's still clearly a better option than Tyler Shuck. And
obvious that he's a better option.
Yes. So I'm surprised by that. No offense to Saints fans, because again, you're going to get a reward that may be better than Cam Ward if you get the number 1 overall pick, to be completely honest. So
correct.
I would take the under. And yeah, how he's looked, I know it's training camp, But man,
it didn't look good, man.
If you're the coaching staff, you have to be like demoralized 2 days into practice already. Like, woof.
Yeah, I will say part of that compilation, you probably saw the same thing that I saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
I will say one of the throws that the guy was breaking down was clearly just a back shoulder throw. It wasn't even a bad throw. Yes, the Shaheed, exactly. Yeah. He said it was thrown behind him. It's like, buddy, do you know what a back shoulder throw is? That's exactly where the ball's supposed to be.
It was a non-ball knower breaking that down.
Yeah, exactly. It was very clearly a non-ball knower. So for some Saints fans, listen, I get it. It's not been all bad for Shough, and we don't know. We don't know until the guy actually gets in the game, and he could be a difference maker, but I just wouldn't bet on that. And plus, it's not just the quarterback for the Saints. This team is not good. Like, the team is it doesn't have talent. It's like, if Chris Olave stays healthy, it's like, well, that's a big if. He hasn't stayed healthy for years. So just overall, man, they're in rebuilding mode. They are. And I don't hate their future, because their future is number 1 overall pick. You just drafted Banks in the first round this year, who I really like at tackle. So you're heading in the right direction, but it's just going to take a few years.
Yeah, and you're pairing him with Taliese Fuaga. So you're kind of doing the Jets thing, where you're going to have your bookend tackles for whoever your future quarterback is.
Which is a great way to build a team, by the way.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of how others have done it, which then killed their careers.
Well, you have to bring up Andrew Luck every podcast? Is that what we're doing? Every podcast?
It's a textbook not to do with your franchise quarterback. But and the other thing, too, is that the Saints are finally getting out of this, like, inevitable cap hell. Well, they're entering it. But they had this inevitable cap hell that was on their future, and now they've hit it, and now they could come out of the spot, on the bright side of it, bring in young talent, and rebuild this roster from scratch. So to be honest, outlook-wise for the future, the Saints are probably one of the teams I'm most excited for, because of the situation they can put themselves in by losing games this year.
Yes, exactly.
All right, recap the NFC South real quick. Both going over 9.5 on the Bucs, over 7.5 on the Falcons. You're going under 6.5 on the Panthers. I'm going to go over. And then both hammering the under 5.5 for the Saints.
Hammering it.
All right. On to the going out west now, starting with the AFC West. And a few teams that were playoff teams last year, starting with the Denver Broncos at 9.5.
Oh, man. Broncos fans are going to hate me. I'm going to go under. And the only reason is because this is a tough division, dude. I mean, it's an extremely tough division. The Raiders got a whole lot better in the offseason. I feel like the Chargers got better, but they made some questionable decisions. And you also play in a division with the Chiefs. And again, I like what Bo Nix can be. I just need to see it again, because, and the reason, I'll be completely transparent. The reason is because I saw Auburn Bo Nix. Listen, I watch a lot of SEC football. I watched Auburn Bo Nix for years be awful. I mean, he was awful. So that's like still in the back of my mind. It's like, that's within Bo Nix. And listen, guys develop, and he was great at Oregon. He was fantastic at Oregon, and he was really good last year. But I just need to see it one more year from Bo Nix. If he shows it next year, then I'm a full-time believer. Sean Payton has developed him, and he looks fantastic. Then I'll be a believer. But I just need to see it one more year.
This is a tough one for me, because you're probably doing the same thing I am, where you're looking at the next team.
Exactly.
And it's like, one of these has to be over, the other one probably has to be under.
Yep.
And I'm debating, do I just be different for the sake of being different, for the sake of the show?
And to make Broncos fans happy.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you guys happy. I'm going over. I'm going over for the Broncos. Part of it is the draft as well, which we'll touch on when we get to the next team. I'm going over because the Jahdae Barrett pick, I loved
it.
Adding that to Pat, the defense is going to be disgusting. Sean Payton is always going to cook up something on offense. I still wish there was a little bit. Pat Bryant's an interesting addition. The Michael Thomas as Sean Payton said. Yeah. I think RJ Harvey turned into something.
That's fantastic.
He basically compared him, because size, skill set wise, it was thrown out there. Not to quote Sean Payton that he specifically said that. He might not have, but I heard that. But RJ Harvey could be, a utility out of the backfield for Bo Nix. Offensive line is still pretty solid. Defense could be really, really good again.
It could.
So I'm going to believe in the Broncos. I'm going to believe in Bo Nix, and that he is Oregon Bo Nix, not Auburn Bo Nix.
He's Oregon. He has put Auburn Bo Nix behind him forever.
He has forgotten that he was ever in Alabama.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Might not be a bad move.
No,
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that. Listen, I could definitely see that. I
it's a
think Bo
toss-up,
Nix.
man.
Yeah, it's a toss up, man. Like I said, I just need to see it one more year. If he does it one more year, then I'm a full time believer.
All right, now to the Los Angeles Chargers, also at 9.5.
Yeah, this one I am gonna go over, man. And listen, I know Justin Herbert is clowned on social media. He's the what if quarterback. To me, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now he hasn't done it in the postseason, which is Herbert's big problem. But we're looking at regular season win totals here, right? At 9.5, and I think they will go over 9.5. I love their bookend tackles. They probably have the best tackles in the league, Dakota, between Slater and Alt. And they still have question marks at wide receiver, but I think they're getting better year after year. You add Trey Harris this year, pair him with Ladd McConkey. I think it's getting better. Listen, I wouldn't even Johnson at this point. I wouldn't. He's a write-off to me. He should be a guy that's on the cut. Like in training camp, multiple drops. Like it's time to just move on from that. He gets open occasionally, but whenever he gets open, he drops it. But overall, I think they are getting better offensively, and the defense is solid. So I'm going to go over for the Chargers.
I'll go under. As we just mentioned, it's kind of like with these two, you kind of had to flip them. And I love Justin Herbert, man. I do. I hated the Marion Hampton pick.
I did
Not
too,
that that's
man.
going to be the reason they go under, but just the talent you could have added there instead frustrates me. I think the defense took a step back. And I just don't love the weapons around Herbert. Quentin Johnston has already had like 4 videos of him dropping passes in camp.
I know,
he had one
dude.
really good one, but then he had all the
know.
terrible ones. And I think, to be honest, I think Harbaugh's obsession with pounding the rock and everything is problematic. I mean, it's almost like the let Russ cook days of like, let Justin Herbert cook, man. Like,
Yes.
don't let your offense be held back by the fact that you're not letting your best player play the game. But I could easily see this team winning 12 games, but I'm going to take the under for the sake of being a little different and just because of what I picked for the Broncos and out of frustration with how they drafted Marion Hampton and didn't address wide receiver as much as they should have.
I will say, though, Amari, if Hampton is good with how they run this offense, this run heavy, Greg Roman approach and Jim Harbaugh approach, like that could be a really good pick. Like that could end up looking like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick a couple of years ago, where it's like everyone clowns on it, but then it's wow, look what Gibbs did to this offense. But yeah, I mean, I also agree with you. I think Herbert, let him cook, man. He is Justin Herbert, and he is fantastic. So.
Yeah, this is one that I think I could get flamed for, to be honest. This is probably the one that's the most polarizing, but I'll stick with it. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong, for what it's worth. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Justin Herbert succeed. All right, on to the defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, 11.5. The last 11.5.
I'm going over. I'm going over on all the 11.5s. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Has to win. Teams win 12 games every year, man.
I know, dude.
And multiple won 14 last year.
Exactly. 17 game schedule now. It's just like I'm not going to bet against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to win less than 11.5. That's just kind of foolish. Although I could definitely see a world where it happens, but I think the offense is going to be better. They have kind of drug through the last 2 regular seasons on offense, and it just hasn't looked good. I think that's a variance thing. I also think, they've dealt with the tackle issues. I think their offensive tackle room got a lot better this offseason in the draft with Josh Simmons. And this receiving core, I think, has a ton of upside, man. Like, if they can all stay on the field and get out of legal trouble, this receiving core has a ton and like a massive amount of upside to me. So I'm going to go over for the Chiefs, dude. And I mean, their defense speaks for itself, by the way. They're going to be good as always.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. They're going to win 12. They'll win 12 games, even with the first place schedule. Their defense and Spags are always going to have a baseline too, where like the Chiefs, the offense hasn't had to be good. And if the offense does get back to being good and Mahomes gets back to being more like 2018, 2019 Mahomes, then this team will easily win 12 games. So hard to bet against Andy Reid and that Mahomes and that Chiefs team. So I'm going to go over 11.5 as well.
Also, breaking news: we officially have football back, people. The kickoff to the Hall of Fame game has just happened. So, welcome back to football season, people. So,
wow.
Yep. Next up, we got the Raiders. The Raiders are the last team in the West, and they are set at 6.5. So, for me, dude, the Raiders got a lot better. But I'm just going to go under. And I don't know why I'm going under here because I love what they did in the offseason, man. I really do. And Dante Thornton's getting shout outs in practice, by the way, by Pete Carroll and everyone. So he could end up being a weapon, a steal in the 4th round. And Geno's going to elevate this team. But I still don't love where they are everywhere else on the roster, man. I just don't. They're not great in the trenches. Like, they're average at best in the trenches. They are still lacking playmakers. So yeah, I got to go under for the Raiders.
I do as well. They definitely got better, but this division is tough, man. It's also being in a division like this, it's just tough. So I think Geno will raise the baseline, like you mentioned. Ginty hopefully will hit the ground running, but the offensive line isn't fantastic. So it could also be a little misstep there. Defense, you have Max Crosby, but outside of that, things aren't fantastic. You just cut Christian Wilkins for whatever reasons. But I just don't think the roster's there.
Whatever reasons.
Yeah. And Pete Carroll does have a baseline as well that's pretty high. So I could see them screwing around and winning 7 games and Geno playing really well. But I just don't see it with the roster right now, and I just don't see it being in the AFC West specifically.
I agree.
All right. Recap the AFC West. You're going under 9.5 for the Broncos. I'm going over. You're going over 9.5 for the Chargers. I'm going under, which I know I will regret. Both going over 11.5 for the Chiefs and both going under 6.5 for the Raiders. Now on to the final division, the NFC
division.
West. Starting with
the Niners at 10.5. I gotta say though, seeing Dan Campbell on the sidelines right now, it just makes me happy, man. I'm so happy football's back. But yeah, 10.5 for the Niners. We just got done answering that question in the chat. I'm still gonna believe in the Niners, dude. I am because the Kyle Shanahan factor. I think Brock Purdy's good enough. They just signed him in the offseason. They still have their stars. Christian McCaffrey's going to be healthy this year. They just signed George Kittle to his contract. They still have Trent Williams. I mean, they still have these guys on this roster that they're some of the best players in the NFL. So I'm still going to believe in the Niners and go over 10.5.
I'm going to shout out this game as well because I'm a uniform fanatic. We'll probably get to that as we get through the season and start watching games. I love uniforms. NFL Fashion Advice on Twitter. Follow that guy. Got some good stuff. But love the Chargers busting out the blue pants with the white. Hate that they're wearing blue socks with it, though. Wear yellow or white socks with it. The all blue on the bottom half looks funny, but had to shout that out. I'm going to go under for the 49ers.
Okay.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to say that the defensive line still is not quite good enough. I'm basically just going to say that the turnover on defenses will make an impact. They lost Dre Greenlaw as well. You lose Hufanga. You lose Traveris Ward. You need rookies to make impacts immediately on the defensive line. I could see them doing it, like we just talked about. I believe that in the range of outcomes, and their ceiling definitely is competing for a Super Bowl. I'm going to go under, though. I'm going to say that they win about 10 games, to be honest. They go like 10-7. The offense is cooking, but I think the defense could be the thing that holds them back a little bit this year. And we'll see offensively, too, how things shake out. If Juwan is still under contract or if they're having to replace another receiver after getting rid of Debo or whatnot. So I'll go under for the 49ers.
I will say I am a bit surprised they're predicted to be the division winner. I kind of would have thought
I agree.
The Rams would have been predicted to be the division winner, but
yeah, it's true. Just telling on who everybody thinks. To be honest, I guess you could kind of figure out all the playoff teams based on this as well. Well, I guess it's kind of tied with all the 9.5s, but All right, on to the Arizona Cardinals at 8.5.
The Arizona Cardinals. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised this is so high. I will say I have to bring up a training camp clip I sent you, Dakota. Will Johnson put Marvin Harrison on his ass. That was an unbelievable clip to me. It really looked like they thought they were still in the Michigan Ohio State rivalry. At least Will Johnson thought he was still in that rivalry. But man, dude, if that's what Will Johnson's bringing to the table, then shoot, maybe I have to go over here. But I still think the Cardinals again are a team that's a year away. I think Kyler is still a question mark to me whether he's a difference maker or not. I think some weeks he can be, but some weeks he's not. A lot of inconsistency there. I think their defense could get a whole lot better. And they could definitely go over 8.5. I'm not saying it's egregious or anything like that. I think they could fight for a playoff spot, but I am going to go under, man. I still have a lot of question marks about this roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm also going to go under. I don't think the roster's there yet. And yeah, I completely agree on the Kyler front, and I'm sure this will reflect plugging it again in our QB rankings that will be coming out next Thursday. It's frustrating with Kyler. I feel like he's very unique in the fact that like Jameis is a quarterback where there's a lot of Jameses really though, where you have some like really high end play paired with just abysmal play. Kyler is just kind of like, he has moments where he will play like a top 3 quarterback and then he's just kind of average. Like he's rarely really bad, but he's just kind of average. He's just like, why don't you play up to that? Because you clearly show your baseline is relatively high. And I think the roster's still not there. The defense should be substantially better. At least on paper it is. But division is tough, and I don't believe in the roster the way it's built currently. So I'm going to go under 8.5. I did agree. This was one of the first ones too I saw where I was like, that's a little high for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Did Hampton score that touchdown?
He did not. It was okay. Trey Lance threw a touchdown to Will Dissly. Trey Lance leads a touchdown drive in the Hall of Fame game. Also, I will say Amari Hampton looked pretty good that drive in his couple carries. So
yeah, I saw him try to get to the edge there to get in the end zone. Didn't quite make it, but he was looking.
Before that, he looked really good though on that run, that 8-yard run. So
breaking
down the Hall of Fame game live. I love it.
Oh man, I'm so ready for. Yeah,
real games.
This is the stuff. Oh yeah. All right. Now the Los Angeles Rams at 9.5. I think I know where we're both going here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over, and this is obviously a game or a team that is very reliant on their QB's health. He's already I think he's already banged up in training camp. I'm hearing that could be a problem, but if Stafford's healthy, this team can win a Super Bowl. And at 9.5, I feel like you have to smash it if you believe a team can actually win a championship. So I would favor them to win this division. If I had to pick a division winner, I would probably favor the Rams at this point. I think the ceiling of their offense is just, it's through the roof, right? Like it could be one of the best offenses in the league. And then you add to the fact that their defensive line has become one of the scariest in the league. Just completely reloading after Aaron Donald left in so many ways with Jared Verse and friends. So yeah, I'm going to go over here for the Rams.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of think it's a little disrespectful to the Rams to not have the defending division champs that didn't really lose anything not be favored to win the division based on these. So I agree. I'm going to go over. I would have liked to have seen a better draft pick with their first one other than Ferguson. I think we talked in length on that because I think they could have added some more firepower to immediately make an impact. But to be fair, tight end was a hole and they wanted to add something there. So, maybe makes the offense even more high powered, along with Puka and friends. So I agree. And then defensively, yeah, the team, they're solid. They have some pieces here or there, like in the secondary where things could be a little bit better, but that front front 6, the rotation they have there and the edge rushers and
so good.
Allowing guys that probably wouldn't succeed as well if they were having to be asked to do more, but you've set them up in a way. They got gifted, to be honest, Jared Verse, and they pounced on it because it's another one of those, we talked about it forever, of this guy as a freshman looks like a top 5 draft pick. He doesn't linearly progress, so then he drops in the draft, and then, oh, wow, he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. Who could have predicted that? So They're definitely living the high off that, and as you've mentioned, too, dark horse already for, Defensive Player of the Year type. So I think And with McVay at the helm, yeah, I believe in the Rams to get over and be a strong contender in the NFC.
I agree, man.
All right, the last team, the Seattle Seahawks, over under 8.5. Where are you going?
I got to give us credit, man. All 32 teams in less than an hour and a half. This is our best performance yet, dude, as far as speed is concerned.
And we've gotten detoured by the Hall of Fame game
exactly.
and news.
Exactly. So we're sitting here breaking news on the pod while talking about over-unders. I love it. I'm going under for the Seahawks. Spoiler alert, under 8.5. I think believing in Darnold right now it's very risky. It's very risky to believe in Sam Darnold, in my opinion. We saw Kirk Cousins without KOC in Atlanta. Now he's getting old. That's a little bit different of a different situation, but he did fall off. That's the reality. And Darnold, outside of his 1 year with KOC, has always been bad, by the way. Like, he even was under Kyle Shanahan at some point, started off good, then played really poorly with the Niners. And that's Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. I just think Darnold and the Vikings last year, it was more so the Vikings that were driving that and everything around Darnold than it was Darnold, even though he had a phenomenal year. I mean, he had an MVP level season. So I'm not saying he's going straight back to Jets Darnold. I just think he's taken as far as everything around him, it's taken a massive step down. I mean, Seattle just traded away DK Metcalf, and they're hoping, 40-year-old Cooper Kupp is a good replacement for that. It's very risky, man. All their offseason moves, in my opinion, were very risky for the Seahawks.
I agree. I think Darnold, unfortunately, is going to regress back to more what we know, and we're going to see the Kevin O'Connell factor play out before our eyes, where he just has a way of making quarterbacks look way better than they are. And to your point, too, the situation is so different. Like, the Vikings have one of the best quarterback-friendly situations in the NFL outside of their interior offensive line last year, which showed up in the playoff game, which made Darnold see ghosts again, where he was just getting eaten alive from that Rams defensive front. Seahawks do not have a great interior offensive line. They just drafted Gray Zabel to kind of be the foundation for it. And we just saw Sam Darnold does not handle that interior pressure well. And to your point, they traded away their wide receiver one. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba can become that. But I don't think the offense is going to be there. I think the defense will still be really good. And McDonald's kind of shown his baseline from coming from his past with the Ravens of just getting that defense to play well. But I just don't think the offense is going to get it done. I think, to be honest, I don't think it's a crazy suggestion to say that we see Jalen Milroe at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you could because Gray Zabel has to be good immediately. By the way, like he has no time to like grow and develop. He has to be good right now. And you also brought up an interesting point about the Rams and how Darnold fell off last year. They have to play the Rams twice, by the way, twice now. Like I mean, I just don't see those games going very well for Darnold. I just don't. For all the points you made, like he does not handle interior pressure well at all. And frankly, not a lot of quarterbacks do. By the way, interior pressure is one of the things that can completely ruin an offense. And I just don't know. Like, there's a lot of risk there for the Seahawks because they add Gray Zabel. Again, he has to be good right away. So, yeah, a lot of things that are pointing to under for me for the Seahawks.
Yeah. I also have a second place schedule.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go under there for the Seattle Seahawks, and unfortunately, think Sam Darnold becomes a little bit more of what, and it's really just pointed at the data, right? We have a lot of data points on Darnold. Most of them say that he's not what he was for, again, most of last season, because he did have the multiple moments where he wasn't. The 2 times he played the Rams and both times he played the Lions, he just wasn't that good, but had a very good season. So we'll see. But recap the NFC West, wrapping things up. You're going over 10.5 for the Niners. I'm going under. Both going under 8.5 for the Cardinals, over 9.5 for the Rams, and under 8.5 for the Seahawks. I won't go through all of these again, but to kind of wrap things up, is there anything that stood out to you? Any kind of talking points from this that you wanted to note? I have one, which is that all of the 2024 quarterbacks, we had 4 of them projected to go over and only 2 projected to go under. And the 2 to go under are Bo Nix and Drake May. Yeah.
That is interesting. I honestly think the only reason I went under on Drake May is because of his situation around him. And he plays Josh Allen twice a year. I'm extremely high on Josh Allen, obviously. And and Bo Nix, I mean, I was debating that one because I was like up in
Yeah,
the air.
and
I
I
was like,
went
maybe I
over,
go
so
over.
it's 5-1 for me. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think, and listen, on the QB ranking show, I want to tease that one more time. If anyone's still watching at this point, it's going to be a fun show. We're going to get backlash for it, right? It's rankings. That's kind of a takey thing to do, but we're going to bring rationale to it that I think is going to actually make it make sense over other shows. I grouped those 2024 quarterbacks together, man, and I think several of those guys have a chance to enter that top 10 range. That's just how I feel about that class. I'm really high on that class. It's unbelievable to me that after their rookie years, we're saying, "Oh wow, all five of the guys that played can actually be good." After 2024, and then you have JJ McCarthy entering quite literally, possibly the best situation a young rookie-ish quarterback has ever played under. Right, like their offensive line looks fantastic, their receiving core. So yeah, I'm really high on that class, and it makes sense. We just went over for all their win totals, apparently.
Yeah, and another thing I just noticed that I want to point out is new coaches, rookie coaches specifically. We went under. I went under on every single one of them except for Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is the one I went over on. And remember, I was like, he could still be bad, and the Jets could win 3 games. But I'll bold.
What's up, Bears? You went over on Bears as well.
Oh yeah, I missed the Bears.
Ben Johnson.
So went under on a lot except for that. Yeah. So very interesting with the new coaches, and kind of, especially for me, being drawn to just saying that usually doesn't immediately lead to success, and also just depending on who they hired, right? Because most of the time a coach is getting hired because the situation was really bad, right? Ben Johnson's probably the one rare one where like he's getting hired into a situation that was good. But a lot of them you're getting hired because the team reached a point that was so bad. So
yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the rosters are in bad shape. So yeah, I think the last thing that I'll point out with this, there's very few teams on here where I think the betting line could be way off at the end of the year. Like a lot of these are very sharp lines. Like they're either going to go over by a game or under by a game. The only teams to me, I'll point out a few. The Patriots are pretty sharp, I would say, but Jags are one that I felt like that's a line that's like, oh man, the Jags could go way under this total or way over it. Trying to find another one real quick. Maybe the Giants. I wouldn't say the Giants though. They're kind of, the Vikings are one that I'll point out.
Mm-hmm.
Like if McCarthy just looks awful as a rookie, I could see them being really bad, but I could also see the Vikings win 13 games again. Like that's how high I'm on the potential of the Vikings. So there's only a few teams on here where I'm like, oh man, this total could be way off at the end of the year. Most of the totals are like right on the dot.
Yeah, I would say the other thing I'll point out is just the Titans at 5.5. Obviously, the last 2 years have been most likely anomalies, but we're all fresh off of 2 straight seasons where a team picking second overall that was projected to be terrible the next season went to the playoffs, won to the NFC Championship game. So I just want to point that one out, that who knows, if Cam Ward ends up being Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud level immediately, even with this roster, that just like the Commanders and Texans, we were like, this team sucks on paper. We could be sitting here saying, wow, they really got that one wrong.
That's a fantastic point, Dakota, because it kind of goes back to our 2024 quarterback discussion that we just had. The quarterback can change everything overnight. We saw that. To your point, we saw it with Stroud. We saw it with Daniels. Those rosters were considered bottom 5 in the league, and that's being generous. I mean, really, the Commanders were considered like bottom 30, like 1 or 2 worst in the league. Texans, same situation. It was one of the worst rosters when Stroud entered the league, but the quarterback changed everything, immediately elevated the roster. Same thing happened with Peyton back here. First year, rookie year. Now, of course, Cam Ward's in his rookie year, but he took a 3-13 team to 13-3 the very next year. Like that's how much a quarterback can drastically flip these things. And if Cam Ward is that guy, then all of a sudden we could see the Titans or the Titans fighting for the AFC South, which by the way is a very winnable division.
Yeah, I'm pulling up some historical stats here because I want to kind of look at, now we can revisit what the betting lines were last year. Here we go.
It's got to be like 6.5 for the Commanders last year, maybe 5.5 for the Commanders last year.
It was 6.5 for the Commanders. They won 12, and the Texans was 6.5 as well the year before. So the Titans are just one below that.
Now you're convincing me. I'm a Cam Ward believer, dude. So I'm thinking, because that's a good point. That kind of fits the bill what I was talking about with, as far as teams that can go way under or way over. The Titans are definitely a team that could end up going way over. Because again, it's a favorable division, and we just got done talking about during the Texans. It's like the Texans have question marks like that. The door is open for the Titans, and if Cam Ward is that difference maker, watch out, man.
And in both cases, both of them were very much projected to be picking top 5. I mean, if you remember, again, revisionist history keeps happening. But if you remember when the Texans traded up for Will Anderson, we were sitting there thinking, dude, the Cardinals could have the number 1 and number 2 overall picks. Like that's immediately where if people are doing mock drafts for 2024 doing
that's why it was considered such a bad trade, because they thought, oh man, you just gave up potentially Marvin Harrison. Remember, they were preparing Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Texans the very next draft class, and they're saying, look what you gave up for Will Anderson. But now in hindsight, it's like, well, if you're giving them pick 28 or 27, whatever ended up getting, it's like, well, now I kind of like going up and getting Will Anderson.
And now if you compare it, it's even worse because they got Robinson out of that. There's Robinson. Now you compare that to Will Anderson Jr. And it's like oof, I'm taking Will Anderson, man. So
it's interesting.
It really is. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. I think it'll be fun doing, regardless of how we do, I think we have to deal with the consequences and revisit this at the end of the season. I think this would be a really fun thing to do. Like, leading into the postseason
video, possibly.
Right after. Before
it.
the Super, something like that. But I'd like to revisit it. But it was a ton of fun doing it.
Agreed.
Really appreciate everybody that tuned in live. Chat. We had some folks in the chat tonight. We really appreciate that. Love seeing that. Love entertaining you guys. And even if it's off topic, we will talk about it. We will talk about whatever people send in chat. So keep doing that. Same thing with comments. Leave comments on whatever. We'll respond to them. And then tune in for our next live shows. We did gain 2 subs during this, so we hit 50, which is awesome. Thanks to the 2 that subbed. Really appreciate that. And if you're watching this after the fact, please like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We really appreciate any and all support we can get. Again, no live show next week, but we will be dropping the quarterback rankings. Going to plug it one last time. Quarterback rankings video will be going out 7 Eastern, roughly, or sometime on Thursday. And then we'll go back to our normal live shows. And then once the season hits, we'll be live on Thursdays and Sundays. So really excited for that. Now we're going to go watch football, man.
Yeah.
We're going to go watch the football.
The lines are lining up in I formation, dude. I absolutely love the preseason. It's not for everybody, but you get to see some interesting stuff during the preseason.
Absolutely. All right. Well, appreciate it, everybody. And until next time.
Thanks for talking ball with us.